My name is Michael Reynolds. I'm 38 years old, and for the past 12 years, I work as a senior account manager at one of the biggest marketing firms in Chicago. I was proud of my work, proud of the clients I built relationships with, and I honestly believed I was an irreplaceable part of the team. But all of that changed in a cold, 2-minute conversation that I'll never forget. It was a Thursday afternoon, just after lunch. I was called into my boss's office, Mark. We'd known each other for years, or so I thought. The moment I stepped inside, something felt off. The usual smile was gone. His eyes didn't look at me. They stared past me, like I was already someone he'd forgotten. Then he said it, in the calmest voice possible. "This isn't personal, Michael." Those words hit me harder than any argument, any fight, any betrayal I'd ever faced. Because in business, they say you have to leave emotions at the door. But when your boss says it's not personal, right before replacing you with his longtime friend, it feels like the biggest personal betrayal of all. He went on, "We're restructuring. You'll be replaced starting next week. Here's your termination letter." I remember staring at that letter, my hand shaking. The room suddenly felt colder, emptier, like the foundation I'd built my career on had been ripped away beneath me. Mark didn't even look me in the eye when he handed it over. Instead, he turned his attention to a folder on his desk, the same folder that, unbeknownst to me, held the client list I'd spent years nurturing. I left his office without a word. I was stunned, humiliated, and, honestly, heartbroken. I kept thinking, how could this happen? Was I really just not a fit anymore? Was it all just business, or something more personal than he wanted to admit? But here's the truth. I didn't just walk away. I didn't quietly pack my things and disappear. Because in that moment of betrayal, something inside me shifted. I realized that if my boss thought he could just erase me and hand my clients over to his friend, he was about to learn one very important lesson. I took something with me that day, something he never saw coming. And that's where my story really begins. For more than a decade, I poured my heart and soul into that company. I wasn't just a cog in the machine. I was the guy clients trusted. I'd built relationships, showed up early, stayed late, and made sure every project was flawless. It wasn't just a job to me. It was my identity. I remember my first big client, a small startup looking to make it big in the tech world. I worked with them every step of the way, brainstorming strategies late into the night, celebrating every small win like it was my own. They trusted me, and I gave them everything I had. That was just one of many stories. Over the years, I developed a network of clients who believed in me, not just for my skills, but for the commitment I showed. I was proud of that trust. Mark, my boss, was someone I looked up to. He hired me when I was fresh out of college and promised growth and opportunity. For a long time, I believed those promises. We shared successes, celebrated company milestones, and even went out for beers after work sometimes. But beneath the surface, things started to change. Little things at first. Mark's friendly texts started to dwindle. Meetings got shorter. The hallway greetings became nods instead of smiles. And then there was Jake, Mark's college buddy, the guy who suddenly appeared in our department out of nowhere. He had no experience, no track record. But he was always around Mark's office, always laughing a little too loud, always at the center of every meeting. At first, I thought it was harmless, old friends reconnecting. But I couldn't ignore the way my role was slowly shrinking. Projects I once led were handed off to Jake. Clients I nurtured were reassigned, with no explanation. I wanted to believe it was temporary. Maybe a new strategy. maybe company restructuring. But deep down, I knew something else was happening. There were moments, small but telling, when Mark and Jake exchanged glances that didn't include me. When I overheard conversations about making room and cleaning house. When the emails stopped including me, I started doubting myself. Was I losing my touch? Was I failing to keep up? Or was there something else? Something personal I couldn't see. And yet, I kept going. I kept working hard, hoping things would go back to normal. Because for me, this wasn't just work. This was my life. The cracks started showing, but I stayed quiet. I watched everything unfold like a silent witness, holding my breath and trying to make sense of it all. Jake was suddenly everywhere. In meetings I was no longer invited to, on calls with clients who used to come to me. His name appeared on emails where mine used to be. But whenever I asked Mark about it, he brushed me off. "This isn't personal, Michael. It's business," he'd say with that same empty look. I knew better. I started noticing small signs that confirmed my fears. My work phone stopped ringing during the day. Emails went unanswered. The office atmosphere shifted. Colleagues who used to greet me with smiles now avoided eye contact. One evening, I stayed late to finish a proposal. As I packed my things, I caught a glimpse of Mark and Jake in a hushed conversation near the conference room. They stopped talking when they saw me, but the way they looked at each other said it all. I tried to stay calm, but the suspicion gnawed at me. One night, around 2:07 a.m., my phone buzzed with a notification, a calendar invite for Mark to Jake titled, "Client Transition Meeting." That was it. The silent suspicion became a clear betrayal. I didn't respond. I didn't confront anyone. I just started watching. I checked email threads, noticed deleted messages, and saw client contracts mysteriously shifted. The list of clients I once managed was quietly being handed over to Jake. It was like a slow-motion avalanche. Everything I had built was slipping through my fingers. I wanted to scream. I wanted to fight. But I held back, letting the storm build inside me. Because I knew the moment to act was coming. And when it did, I would be ready. It was a Tuesday morning when I finally saw the proof I couldn't ignore anymore. I was going through my work email, just like any other day, when I noticed a new message in my sent folder, one I never sent. It was an email to a key client, confirming a meeting with Jake, and it included confidential information I'd shared only in private. I felt my heart drop. That's when I realized someone had been impersonating me, leaking information, and quietly handing over my clients, the people I had spent years building trust with, to Jake. I remember sitting back in my chair, the office suddenly spinning around me. I didn't cry, didn't shout. I just felt an overwhelming calm settle over me, like the eye of a storm. I closed my laptop and looked around the empty office. For years, this place was my second home. And now, it felt like a battlefield I had lost without even knowing I was fighting. But something shifted in that moment. The quiet, broken man who sat there was no longer willing to accept defeat. I wasn't going to be the victim of this betrayal. No. I was going to fight back. And I would win, but on my own terms. I knew I couldn't rush. This wasn't about shouting or confrontation. It was about patience, precision, and playing the long game. I started collecting everything: emails, texts, contracts, anything that could prove what was happening behind my back. I went through months of records, piecing together a puzzle that Mark and Jake thought I hadn't noticed. I reached out to a lawyer I trusted, someone who understood corporate battles and wouldn't blink at the idea of taking on a company, and a boss that played dirty. At home, I kept everything to myself. Friends noticed my quietness, but I told no one the full story. I was focused, calm, and ready. The tension inside me grew, but it was controlled. I was no longer the man who silently accepted injustice. I was the man planning the comeback. Mark still acted like nothing was wrong. He smiled in meetings, but I knew it was a mask, just like I was wearing one too. Jake kept parading around, clueless that I was 2 steps ahead. They didn't realize that I wasn't just going to walk away. With every piece of evidence I gathered, I'd build my case, not just for myself, but for the clients who deserved the truth. And when the time came, I would show them all. The day finally arrived. I walked into the office with a calm I hadn't felt in weeks. No anger, no desperation, just cold clarity. I met with my lawyer first, who had already prepared everything: evidence packets, audio recordings, emails, the full story laid bare. Mark's confident smile faded the moment the lawyer presented the proof. The courtroom was packed with colleagues, clients, and the company's legal team. I stayed silent as the lawyer laid out every detail: the backdoor deals, the leaked client info, and the betrayal disguised as business. Then came my moment. I played the audio file I had secretly recorded months earlier, a conversation where Mark admitted to replacing me with Jake, dismissing my work like I was disposable. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Faces shifted, eyes widened. The truth was no longer hidden. No yelling, no drama, just the undeniable truth exposed with cold precision. Mark tried to deny it, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge ruled in my favor. The company was ordered to reinstate my clients and compensate for damages. More importantly, my reputation was restored. I walked out that day knowing I hadn't just won a legal battle, I had reclaimed my dignity. After the verdict, life didn't just return to normal, it changed in ways I never expected. I left that office behind for good, but I didn't walk away defeated. Instead, I started fresh, using everything I had learned from that battle. I rebuilt my career from the ground up. This time, on my terms. I reached out to clients personally, apologizing for the disruption and promising a new kind of partnership, one built on honesty and respect. Many came back. Some new ones joined too. More than that, I found peace. Peace in knowing I stood up for myself when it mattered most. Peace in knowing that no matter how dark the storm, the sun always rises. I also realized something powerful. I lost a job, yes, but I gained a deeper understanding of my own worth. That job didn't define me, my spirit did. And that spirit can never be taken away. I'm sharing this story because I know many of you have faced betrayal or injustice. If you have, I want you to remember this: you are stronger than what tries to break you. If this story hit home, share your own story in the comments. I want to hear how you rose after a fall. And if you want more real-life stories that prove resilience wins, hit that subscribe button and join me on this journey. Because life will throw punches, but it's how you get back up that defines you. They took my job, but they never took my spirit. And that made all the difference.